And the more educated a person gets in the current education system, because this education system is directed solely at the left brain, they get within the system and they work to make the system more efficient. And they simply refine the matrix and refine the prison that humanity lives in. And essentially they do this, folks, because they have a misconception of reality, because they are only viewing reality through the understanding of one side of their brain. But there's a whole other side to the brain that operates in a completely different way. And when balance is obtained between these two sides of the brain, then a person's perception of reality completely changes. And folks, whoever's running the show here, they are certainly clever, because it isn't just that the education system is directed solely at the left brain. There are also steps that are taken to close down the corpus callosum. The corpus callosum is about 100 million axonal fibres that connect the left brain to the right brain. This enables both sides of your brain to communicate with each other. But it would seem that many of the food additives and the electromagnetism and a lot of the things that we are subject to as society, many of these things are designed to close off the corpus callosum so that there is no connection, or very little connection, between the left and right brain. And I believe this has been done deliberately. A lot of our food and the genetically modified food that we're being fed these days, the chemtrails, a lot of these things as well, are also designed to keep our bodies inactive, to keep our DNA shut down, to keep our pineal gland closed, to make sure that our body is producing very, very minuscule amounts of substances like DMT, which is actually produced in the lungs and stored in the spine and released through the pineal gland into our body all the time. In normal circumstances, if we were living in a natural environment and our DNA was active, this is what would be happening all the time. We would have a lot of higher senses working. But there's all sorts of biological agents and electromagnetic agents that seem to be at work in the world to ensure that our DNA and then our body and therefore our consciousness remains in the inactive state that it's currently in. And as we've seen recently with the move by the Australian government to ban all plants from which DMT can be manufactured, you can see now the governments know people are waking up to the fact that their bodies are shut down and waking up to the fact that this antenna that exists within plants is actually a communication device. It's actually an interface. They're going all out to try to ban these substances and ban any plants that contain this interface, which, folks, we will find is all plants. And so they are essentially attempting to ban nature as much as possible to prevent people from ever being able to communicate with it, to prevent people from ever being able to activate their bodies and activate their DNA and allow their higher senses to come online. And this isn't any New Age fantasy, folks. This is simple biology. If you look at your body and you look at your DNA and you start looking at substances like DMT and realizing that it's as common as tryptophan in all living things, and it's an interface, and you start joining the dots and putting two and two together, and you can see what's happening here, folks. And as the vibrational frequency of this entire solar system and everything around us is rising, which it has been since the 1980s, things are all starting to come online. All these higher senses are starting to come online. People are gaining completely new perspectives of the world, new perspectives of reality. It's all starting to come online. And so the governments are working overtime. They're working 25 hours a day to prevent humanity from ever waking up. And that's why all these additives are in the food. That's why we are seeing so much legislation to ban organic gardens, to bring in genetically modified food, to chemtrails, the spraying from planes has been accelerating massively. We're seeing huge releases of depleted uranium and nuclear reactors being subject to earthquakes and all sorts of things, releasing as much radiation into the air as possible. The new bombing raids on Libya where they're just dropping depleted uranium everywhere. I mean, they're doing everything they can, folks, to prevent any type of conscious evolution from happening on this planet. And essentially why it's happening and how these governments are in a position that allows them to initiate all of this stuff is because they have kept humanity in a state where humanity is unable to reach its fullest potential. And we've got this very, very timid humanity at the moment that is too scared to stand up to the governments, that is too scared to stand in their power. They are living in fear. They will allow the world to turn into what it is being turned into simply because of their fear at ever standing up and standing in their own power and saying, no, we will not allow this to happen. And doing it in the right way, folks. Like I said, I will stand up to these people and simply say, no, it's not going to happen. But I don't want to kill them. I'm just not going to go along with what they're doing. It's as simple as that. We don't need any violent revolution. We don't need any violence. We don't need any bloodshed. All we need to do is to stand in our power and say, no, we're going to take the world in another direction. There are a lot of people in the world, like Gandhi said, that you must be the change that you want to see in the world. People have said, change yourself, change your energy, change your heart, and you will change the world. And this may seem like a strange way of looking at things to a lot of people. They think, well, I can sit here and just be in love and light, and I'm not going to change the world. Nothing's changing around me. But if you can realize that other people are yourselves, we are all each other, and we are all in this together. If you can view every other person and interact with every other person as yourself and treat them as you would be treated, then that's how you do it, folks. Because if the whole community does it, suddenly all the wars will stop, all the corruption will stop, all the violence will stop. All we have to do is treat other people the way we would be treated ourselves. I've often said that there is only one law to all creation, and that is the law of absolute unconditional love and service to the creation. Service to the creation is service to all, service to others as yourself, service to yourself as others. Service to the creation is treating others with respect, loving them as much as you love yourself, and certainly loving yourself as much as you love them. Because it's all one creation. All you have to do to put yourself into this state, all you have to do to interact with reality in this manner, is to remove fear from your life. Stop being in fear of other people. Stop being in fear of yourself. Stop being in fear of expressing yourself. Stop being in fear of helping someone be themselves to the greatest of their potential. And stop being in fear of being yourself to the greatest of your potential. Be proud of who you are. Love who you are. Love the fact that you are privileged enough to experience whatever it is you're experiencing. Express yourself. Don't be afraid to talk to people. Don't be afraid to tell the truth to people. But don't do it from a state of fear. You can tell people about the world situation. You can tell people about everything that's going on. But do it from an empowered state. Be happy that you know what's going on. And if the other people around you don't understand it and they think you're nuts, that's fine. It doesn't matter. Just be happy in the fact that you know what's going on and continue along. I mean, you've got to understand that most of the world is asleep, and you can't blame them for being asleep, because that's what the system is designed to do. But you could look at your own progress. You can mark your own progress by the situations you find yourself in with those around you. Are people telling you that you're nuts? Are people telling you that you're a conspiracy theorist? Are people telling you that you're no fun anymore because you don't want to watch TV or go to the football? Well, if they are, then you're on the right track, folks. This is what it's like waking up. People will tell you that you're not the person you used to be. People will tell you that you don't fit in with their perception of what reality is supposed to be anymore. And all of these things are clear demonstrations that you are very much on the right track to waking up, and you're heading in the direction that you should be heading into, because you're starting to view reality with both sides of the brain. Very often waking up comes in 4 stages, folks. When you begin to see what's actually going on around you, the first stage is wonder. You just can't believe that you missed it all. The second stage is usually anger. The third stage is loneliness and fear. And the fourth stage is a clear understanding and a deep feeling of satisfaction and fascination within yourself. I look at the world around me, folks, and I am just fascinated in it every day. Sure, I still see a lot of people that are completely asleep. I see the desperate situation humanity's facing at the hands of the psychotic lunatics that are running the planet. But I still find it fascinating. I don't find it something to fear, because I know that this is simply an experience I'm having, and I know that the more negative these people make it, then the more of humanity is going to wake up. My only real concern is that when people do wake up, they get locked into the anger stage, and they don't allow themselves to get to the fascination stage. And that's why I try to bring these shows to people, because you don't ever really reach the fascination stage until you start understanding what reality is, and you start understanding and clearly seeing how easy it would be to turn everything around by simple non-compliance. Realizing the system is all fictional. And that's also why I suggest to people that it's not a good idea to bring this information to people from a position of fear, because you need to lead by example. People need to see that you are a better person, that you are a more fulfilled person, and that you are a happy person. Life is just fascinating to you because you have this information. See, once you really get down to it, folks, once you really do understand what reality is, it is quite literally fascinating. The whole thing is fascinating. Even the human drama and the drama that human consciousness seems to so readily subject itself to, it's all fascinating to me. I can't believe that people do these things to themselves. Even when I see couples fighting, as I said, I've seen at least 5 couples break up very recently, and even when I see them fighting, it's a misconception of reality. They're not allowing themselves to be who and what they are, and they are trying to mould their partner into what they believe their partner should be. They're not allowing their partner to be who and what they are.